Imagine walking into an elegant restaurant, sitting down quietly for a meal, only to be approached by the manager with an unexpected request that completely changes the course of your day. That's exactly what happened to Barron Trump. And the reason? A simple MAGA hat. The manager's gesture not only caused a controversial scene, but also sparked a series of events no one could have foreseen. What Barron did next, however, was so surprising it left everyone speechless. He turned a moment of public embarrassment into something deeply inspiring. But how did a young man handle the pressure, criticism, and the weight of his name to make such an impact? This is a story of courage, empathy, and a life lesson you won't want to miss. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss incredible stories like this one. Get ready, because the ending to this story is as unexpected as it is moving. After all, who would have thought a hat could become the starting point for something so transformative? Barron Trump, with his calm demeanor and always reserved posture, would never have imagined that something as simple as a hat could spark such turmoil. That afternoon, as the Los Angeles sun painted the streets with its usual golden glow, he decided to have lunch at the elegant LA Terrace restaurant. Known for its exclusive clientele and sophisticated atmosphere, the place seemed perfect for a peaceful break. However, Barron carried with him an accessory that would change the tone of the occasion: a red hat embroidered with the phrase, "Make America Great Again," in white. As soon as he entered, the conversations around him seemed to pause momentarily. The hat, a symbol of a movement that divides opinions, appeared to carry a weight far greater than expected. While Barron sat in a discreet corner, curious and in some cases disapproving glances began to accumulate. He didn't seem to notice, or perhaps chose to ignore it. After all, to him, it was just a piece of clothing, a silent expression of his beliefs. Everything changed when the restaurant manager, a middle-aged man with a tense expression and cautious eyes, approached him. Speaking in a low but firm tone, he explained that the restaurant adhered to a neutral space policy, where items representing ideologies or political symbols were not allowed. Barron listened carefully, maintaining his characteristic composure. The manager asked him to remove the hat, something many might have perceived as a personal attack in the same situation. The atmosphere in the room became palpable. Some customers whispered among themselves, while others watched in silence, waiting for the young man's reaction. The moment seemed frozen in time. Barron then looked up at the manager, his face showing no trace of irritation. He didn't respond immediately, as if he were pondering not only the situation, but also the impact of any decision he might make. What came next would change the course of more than just that lunch. And that's when Barron's choice revealed something no one could have anticipated. He stood up, adjusting the hat on his head, and with calm steps walked toward the exit. There was no confrontation, no harsh words, no gestures of displeasure. Just a quiet departure, but one laden with meaning. The restaurant, once filled with murmurs, was now submerged in an uncomfortable silence. The question lingered in the air: what would Barron Trump do after such an unexpected incident? Outside the restaurant, the sun continued to shine, but there was something even brighter in Barron's expression. He didn't let the restaurant incident shake his calm demeanor. Walking through the bustling streets of Los Angeles, he reflected on the event with a maturity uncommon for someone his age. To Barron, it wasn't just about being asked to remove a hat. It was a reminder of how deeply the world could be divided by symbols, words, and ideas. As he walked, he found a small bench in a nearby park and sat down. He observed the people around him, each immersed in their routines. Some carried shopping bags, others strolled distractedly with their dogs, and children laughed as they ran. Back and forth. The scene was a stark contrast to the tension he had left behind at the restaurant, and in that moment, Barron realized something crucial. He had the choice to turn the discomfort he felt into something greater, something that could bring people together instead of pulling them apart. Thoughtfully, he pulled out his phone and began jotting down ideas. Rather than responding to the restaurant's actions with anger or resentment, he wanted to do something that would promote dialogue and understanding. An idea began to take shape, along with a growing sense of purpose. Barron knew the incident at the restaurant wasn't about him or the hat itself, but about the invisible lines that so often divide people. He decided he wanted to challenge those. His demeanor caught the attention of a few passers-by. An older woman, recognizing who he was, approached and quietly said, "You did the right thing by leaving without making a scene." Barron responded with a gentle smile, thanking her for her kindness. Little did she know that his calm gesture hid something much bigger. What had started as a simple lunch was transforming into something that could touch lives far beyond that restaurant. Still seated on the bench, Barron took a deep breath, adjusted his hat once more and looked around. He knew the story wouldn't end there. There was something pulsing in his mind, an idea he hadn't yet fully articulated, but that he knew had the potential to create positive change. This was just the beginning. Barron wasted no time putting his ideas into action. Inspired by the incident at the restaurant, he began planning something that could bring people together instead of driving them apart. Once home, he sat at his desk, surrounded by papers and notes. In his mind, a charitable event seemed like the best way to promote dialogue and understanding. He wanted to gather people from diverse backgrounds, beliefs, and perspectives, creating a space focused on common good. The event, which he decided to call United Through Respect, would be organized in a park near the restaurant where it all began. Barron meticulously planned every detail. There would be talks on empathy, food stands to raise funds for underprivileged communities, and activities designed to encourage interaction among attendees. He believed that by fostering inclusion, he could turn the symbol of division that his hat represented for some into a marker of unity. With the help of friends and allies, Barron shared the event on social media. The response was immediate. Comments began pouring in, some praising his initiative, others questioning his intentions. But Barron wasn't fazed. He knew that dialogue was the first step toward meaningful change. The date was set, and anticipation grew. Many saw the event as an opportunity to engage in open conversations about important issues. On the day of the event, the park was filled with people. Some wore hats identical to Barron's, while others came with different perspectives, curious to listen and be heard. Standing on a small makeshift stage, Barron began his speech with a simple yet powerful phrase, "We are stronger when we listen to one another." He spoke about his experience at the restaurant, not with bitterness, but with an emphasis on how it had inspired him to create something greater. By the end of the event, many attendees left not just touched, but transformed. Conversations flowed, prejudices began to dissolve, and a sense of community took over the park. Barron watched the scene with a quiet but meaningful smile. He knew this was just a small seed, but sometimes that's all it takes to spark change. When photos and videos of the event started circulating online, the story took on an unexpected life of its own. The restaurant incident, combined with Barron's inspiring gesture, became one of the most talked about topics of the week. Thousands of users debated intensely about the fine line between freedom of expression and neutrality in businesses. To many, Barron's actions were a display of maturity and leadership. To others, the restaurant's stance was still defensible in certain contexts. Opinions were divided. Some users created hashtags in support of Barron, such as @RespectForAll, while others defended the restaurant, arguing the importance of neutral spaces. Social media buzzed with activity as public figures weighed in on the topic, sharing their perspectives. Amid memes, heartfelt statements, and heated debates, the narrative grew. Each new post seemed to draw more attention, making Barron Trump's name a global trend. The restaurant itself, unprepared for such massive attention, began facing a wave of online criticism. While some people pledged to boycott the establishment, others showed support, believing the neutrality policy had good intentions, even if the execution had been flawed. The manager, who initially acted with conviction, now found himself at the center of a digital storm that questioned his decision. Barron, however, chose not to engage directly in the online discussions. He remained silent, letting his actions speak for themselves. Still, the narrative surrounding him grew each day. Many viewed him as a symbol of how adversity can be turned into something positive, while others accused him of exploiting the episode for self-promotion. Barron, unfazed by these interpretations, stayed focused on his larger purpose, fostering understanding. The controversy on social media, though intense, highlighted a fundamental question about coexistence in polarized times. Barron observed it all from a distance, knowing that every message, whether of support or criticism, contributed to a larger conversation. He realized that something needed to be done to bring closure to the story, and he was determined to do so in a way that continued building bridges rather than walls. The pressure from social media became unbearable for the restaurant manager. The man, who had initially been confident in his decision, began questioning whether his stance had truly been the best choice. The flood of criticism was mixed with messages of support, but the weight of the consequences was clear. The incident had caused a greater divide than he had ever anticipated. Realizing the opportunity for redemption, he decided to take an unexpected step and reached out to Barron directly. The meeting took place in a quiet cafe, away from cameras and the buzz of social media. The manager, visibly nervous, apologized for what had happened at the restaurant. He explained that his intention was never to disrespect Barron, but to uphold the neutrality policy of the establishment, though in hindsight he acknowledged that he could have handled the situation differently. Barron, with his usual calmness, listened attentively. There was no hint of resentment in his expression, only curiosity to understand the other side. In return, Barron shared his perspective. He spoke about how the incident had sparked in him the need to promote more empathy and understanding, emphasizing that the charity event was a direct outcome of that experience. The manager, moved by Barron's words, proposed something surprising: to collaborate on future events aimed at strengthening the local community. The idea of a partnership was met with enthusiasm. Both realized that, despite coming from different positions, they shared a common goal: creating a more welcoming environment for everyone. The manager promised to review the restaurant's policy, seeking an approach that respected both neutrality and customers' freedom of expression. Barron, in turn, assured that he would continue promoting initiatives that brought people together. As the cafe meeting ended, the two left with renewed understanding and a valuable lesson. Conflicts can be transformed into opportunities for learning and reconciliation. The restaurant, once seen as a symbol of division, now had the chance to become a place for dialogue. And Barron once again proved that even the most tense moments can serve as catalysts for something extraordinary. Walking home, Barron reflected on how such a simple act of seeking reconciliation could impact others. The story, which had started with a hat, was now becoming an example of how empathy and dialogue can change not just situations but entire lives. Barron Trump showed us that even in the face of uncomfortable or divisive situations, we can choose to respond with empathy, wisdom, and purpose. What began as a moment of tension in a restaurant became a powerful example of how to turn conflict into opportunities for unity. His attitude reminds us that sometimes a gesture of understanding can speak louder than 1,000 words. And what about you? How do you react when facing situations that test your patience or beliefs? Could we all learn to turn our own challenges into something positive for others? Reflect on that and share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might inspire others to see the world differently. If this story touched you in any way, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you'll find moving and inspiring stories that challenge the way we see the world. And don't forget, the next episode might be even more incredible.